Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 6, text 33. Arjuna Uvacha Yoyam Yogastvaya Prokta Samyena Madhusudana Etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat sthitim sthiram. Now Krishna finished description of this complete Ashtanga Yoga, Dhyana Yoga system in the last 20 verses or so. First starting with Suchau Deshe Pratisthapya Sthiram Asanam Atmanaha. You have to go to a secluded place in a very clean environment. You have to establish a seat and lay, kusha grass and a deer skin and a soft cloth, and you have to sit and erect, stare at the tip of the nose, do certain kind of breathing and all these kind of things. Ultimately, he said, Manah samyamya matchitto yukta asita matparaha prashantatma vigata bhihi. One has to become calm, peaceful, devoid of fear, control the senses. All these things so that manasamyamya, you control your senses so that matchittaha, you can think of Krishna. So that is the purpose of any yoga system. The means could be different, but what you achieve in the end should be the same. Krishna consciousness. The means could be different. The yogic principles, in whatever chapter Krishna describes, the yogic principles cannot be changed, like controlling of the senses, practicing devoid of fear, focusing on Krishna. So all these kind of yogic principles, they cannot be changed. But how you apply those principles determines what kind of yoga you are following. If you are following those principles through Ashtanga Yoga, by sitting postures, breathing exercises, that is called Dhyana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga. But if you are applying those principles through Bhakti, then it is called Bhakti Yoga. So here Arjuna, he is saying, Krishna, you have described all these things. All right. Yo ayam yogaha tvaya proktaha. Tvaya, by you, it has been explained generally, samyena madhusudana, this yogic principles, dhyana yoga principles. Etasya aham na pashyami. I don't see myself being able to practice this. Arjuna basically is rejecting this dhyana yoga system. Why? Because chanchalatvat sthitim sthiram. Because my mind is restless and unsteady. See, you should note that Arjuna is not rejecting the yogic principles. He's rejecting a particular method to apply those principles. He's rejecting the method of dhyana yoga. He's not rejecting the yogic principles but by itself, by themselves. He was rejecting the dhyana yoga path of going to a secluded place, sitting erect, breathing. Why he rejected? Because he was being practical. He felt it was impossible for him. He was a householder. He had duties to perform as a military man, Kshatriya. And even imagine he was in much better position than we are currently, and much more qualified than us with his cultured and disciplined background, high parentage. He was personal friend of Krishna. He had great willpower because he was a great warrior. They had greater longevity at that time. So just imagine if you were to practice this yogic system today. You went to a military camp and said, "Oh, this is a great yoga system, and all of you should go to a secluded place in the forest and meditate." They will laugh at you because it's not possible. A daily man, person working for his daily job, if you were to tell him, no, you have to quit the job, go to the forest, it's not possible for him, especially in Kali Yuga. So Arjuna expressed his inability not just in Kali Yuga but in 5000 years ago, being very practical. So, what to speak of people for this age? That's what Prabhupada writes. It is not possible for an ordinary man to leave home and go to a secluded place in the mountains or jungles to practice yoga in this age of Kali. Even you see Dhyana Yoga path, when you go back to Godhead, you won't see anybody sitting in one place and meditating on Krishna. When you go back to Godhead, it is characterized by full service, full activity. You won't find any yogis there. When the gopis and Radharani they come to Kurukshetra, Krishna also comes to Kurukshetra from Dwaraka. They meet at a very auspicious solar eclipse time. And Krishna, after leaving Vrindavan, he never came back. And all these gopis and Vrajavasis, they took the opportunity to meet Krishna. And actually, Radharani meets Krishna at that time, and he urges him to come back to Vrindavan. And he tells Krishna, "See, Krishna, you are so mean that you never came back. Forget me. You see the plight of your father and mother. They love you so much, they cannot but do anything but just to think of you. They just remain in that state, completely withered like a flower in the hot sun. And you did not come, and you sent your friend Uddhava to teach this philosophy, the path of Dhyana Yoga and Gnana Yoga to console us." And Radharani says, they have no place in our heart. This Dhyana Yoga, Gnana Yoga, philosophy has no place in Gnana, no place in our heart. We are simple cowherd women. And we just want to render you service. So she, indirectly, she is also, the Vrajavasis also, they don't like this path. Ultimately, back to Godhead, it is full of service to Krishna. Activity. That is what ultimately the jiva likes. Nobody likes to sit alone in one place. Of course, as a means to control the senses in this material body, that is one method which worked in previous ages for certain kind of people. But in this age, Prabhupada writes here, the present age is characterized by a bitter struggle for a life of short duration. People are not serious about self realization even by simple practical means. कालेन अल्पायुषः सभ्या कलौ अस्मिन् युगे जनाः मंदाः सुमन्दमतयो मंदभाग्या हि उपद्रुताः. Bhagavatam describes the characteristic of the people. Manda means they are very lazy, not in terms of material wealth or material business, lazy spiritually. They're not very interested. Mandaha. Sumandamatayo. Even if they are interested, there are so many bogus gurus, bogus spiritual paths. They deviate them. Therefore, they are mandabhagyaha, unfortunate, and upadritaha. They're always disturbed by so many calamities, either by nature or by government or by whatever means. But still, they are so puffed up. They think they know how to live. What is the meaning of life? They find any spiritual gathering uninteresting, boring, meaningless, old fashioned. They are too proud of their academic qualifications. They don't want to hear any spiritual instruction. So, this devotee, he was distributing books, the Bhagavad Gita and all these books, Prabhupada's books. So, there was a very nice looking, wearing suit and all that. This man was walking by, he was going somewhere in a very jolly mood. And he he came for a holiday, and then he was going back after his small meeting with somebody there. So this devotee met him, and he gives his book, but this man instantly rejected him. And the devotee is trying to explain, this book contains the mother of all. This is the mother of all yogas. This is the best of all knowledge, and all these kind of things. And this man is saying, no, I know everything. He happens to write reviews about companies, and based on the reviews, that review determines the fate of their sales and stock markets. Those kind of is very high profile person. I know everything. I can figure out everything. I don't need this book. Why do I have to buy this book? I am very happy already. I'm doing very well for myself. No, this will reduce your stress. And this man said, no, what stress? I don't have any stress. I like my job. I love doing my job. I don't have any stress. So this conversation was going on. And this devotee could not convince with whatever logic and whatever questions were coming back. And finally that man leaves. But the devotee puts his, somehow gives that card, his card to him, that visiting card or whatever details. And then the devotee leaves him and goes back with disappointment that he was unable to convince this person. And he goes to sleep. And he is not able to sleep because why he could not answer these questions, why he could not convince this person. Then, late in the night, he gets a phone call asking him to come to one place. Somebody seriously asking him, hey, we need your presence here immediately. Can you please come? So he goes there, and that happens to be a hospital. And they say, no, 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 this man is in serious condition. He wanted to meet you. There is nobody here for him. It seems you are the only one. And this devotee is wondering, who is this person? And then he goes to that room where this man is severely injured. That same person who was meeting him earlier in the day, he met with an accident and he's about to die. And this person tells the devotee, I don't have anybody here. You are the only one, and I think I'm going to die. He's hardly able to speak. And the reason why I called you is because the moment I got to the hospital, I was thinking about you, our conversation. If you remember in our conversation, I told that I was very happy and intelligent, I was always happy. I love my job. What additional happiness can this Krishna consciousness can provide? You did not give me a convincing answer. But actually, I got the answer now. The answer you should have given is, however intelligent, wealthy, safe, and secure you are, death can come at any time. Nobody can save us from death. Death can take away everything. Nobody can predict when it is. And then, you know, eventually he died. So it is very important to be prepared for death by practicing Krishna consciousness. And in Kali Yuga, the time is very limited. The time, people are so busy in Kali Yuga, they want everything, they want to do everything, and they want spiritual progress also. They cannot give up their family, their occupation. It's not possible. While doing the same thing, we have to insert Krishna consciousness. And that is possible only in Bhakti Yoga. In the other paths, they don't even allow one who is a Grihastha. The Gnana path, you have to be either Brahmachari or Sannyasi. Dhyana path, you have to go to secluded place, practice celibacy and all that. But only in Kali Yuga, only in Bhakti path, you can practice Krishna consciousness. That's why Krishna says, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu ma manusmara yudhyacha. Krishna, he was telling Arjuna, who was going to this world war. This is a world war, in the middle of the world war, and he is about to shoot arrows. And Krishna is saying, Sarveshu kaleshu, at all times remember me. Oh, so should I just go and sit in one place and just close my eyes and remember you? No, yudhyacha. You have to do yuddha at the same time. So Krishna never recommended stopping our occupation. In Kali Yuga, it is, that's what Prabhupada basically explains in the purport. People sometimes imitate this Dhyana Yoga system in different so-called schools and societies. They are certainly wasting their time. They are completely in ignorance of the desired goal. They cannot practice it in Kali Yuga. That's what Prabhupada also mentions in Bhagavatam purport 3.15.45. He says, one cannot practice yoga in a congested city, living a life of extravagancy, including unrestricted sex indulgence and adultery of the tongue. Yoga practice necessitates controlling the senses, and the beginning of sense control is to control the tongue. One who can control the tongue can also have control over the other senses. One cannot allow the tongue to take all kinds of forbidden food and drink, and at the same time advance in the practice of yoga. It is a very regrettable fact that many unauthorized so called yogis come to the Western countries and exploit people's inclination towards yoga practice. Such unauthorized yogis even dare to say publicly that one can indulge in the habit of drinking and at the same time practice meditation. So it's not possible. You see how it's just a mockery. When we went to Rishikesh a couple of years ago as part of our pilgrimage, it's a beautiful place in the middle of Himalaya, close to Himalayas and all that. So Ganga flowing. We took bath and all that. It's a very nice place. So we stayed in one place, some hotel arrangement, and then I got the room where I could look, the town from behind. Beautiful place, and there was a big open space behind with a building, a lot of open space in that building, and there were rooms in the building. So I could see a lot of Westerners, and there was a teacher who came in that open space, and he was teaching these Westerners different kinds of asanas, and they were, one person, he was sitting in a crouched way, and he was drinking a lot of water, and then he was, after that, he was trying to throw, vomit the water and all these kind of things. Somebody was putting water into the nose and getting it out, and all these kinds of things were going on. And so the next day, so I saw these people who practice these different kinds of things. They were on their rooms on the veranda, and they had these bottles of, you know alcohol, and they were drinking, and somebody was smoking, all these kind of things. So this is just a mockery. Of course, people, they are enamored with yoga now because of health. That's a different thing. Any spiritual path you do properly, you're bound to be healthy, because health first starts with a healthy mind. If the subtle body is healthy, your gross body also eventually will be healthy. If the subtle body is contaminated, it will force the gross body also to do contaminated things. So if you put dirt within, it has to manifest with externally also. So any properly spiritual path you do, it will result in good health. So anyway, the point is that if you think that this is the process of self-realization, that you can do anything and everything and just do this kind of exercises and you can go back to Godhead. No. People think anything and everything is the same. Karma yoga, dhyana yoga, bhakti yoga. Like one devotee was mentioning that he was he went to distribute books. I mean, not distribute. He went to the office. He was working. He had this kantimala, and so one manager he saw, oh, you seem to be a spiritual person. And this devotee said, yes, I practice this Hare Krishna philosophy and processes and all that. Oh, bhakti yoga. Yeah, this is bhakti yoga. Yeah, I think bhakti yoga, I understand some people follow, but it's not meant for everyone. There are other higher paths, and I follow the easiest path, which is karma yoga. And what is karma yoga? No, I have this business, and I just do the business to the best of my ability. Work is worship. So this is karma yoga. So according to them, they think any yoga path is as good, and whatever they think as convenient as doing, they can do, and it will yield the same result. So there was one colleague of mine, he said recently that bhakti yoga is not universally practicable yoga, because he says, say for example, somebody born in Russia or some other place, remote place, they don't know our Vedic culture. If you ask them to practice bhakti, how will they practice? But everybody can understand gnana. Everybody can think about, understand, speculate about who they are. So this is his thinking. He doesn't know that our movement is international movement. Particularly the Westerners. Prabhupada came to the West, and when he chanted everybody from the Western countries, they were attracted to the holy name because Krishna is there in the heart of everyone. That is the natural thing. This is a natural process. It's not artificial. In fact, dhyana and gnana are artificial processes, impositions on the mind. As Radharani also said, I was quoting that conversation. Nobody practices dhyana and yoga in the Vaikuntha, spiritual world. The natural process is to think of Krishna. Jivera Swarupa hai Krishnera Nityadas. So one should not be deviated by any of these unbona fide methods. One should practice Krishna consciousness. Susukham kartum avyayam. Very simple, very easy. At the same time, very happy as well. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. When one practices this chanting, as Rupa Goswami says, I don't know how much nectar these two syllables Krishna has produced, that I want to have many millions of tongues. What to speak of one tongue? It's not enough. I want to have many millions of ear holes. So, like that. Stop here. Anyone has any questions or comments?
Yes,
Hare
okay. Go ahead, Mat, please. Sorry.
Sorry,
Uh,
go ahead.
In the earlier means starting of the class, you mentioned solar eclipse time was there when gopis and Krishna rather they came to Kurukshetra, and you mentioned it was auspicious time of solar eclipse. Typically, eclipse is considered not so auspicious. So, what was so auspicious about this occasion?
no, it is auspicious when you do auspicious things.
Okay.
Because at that time, like even for example, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared at lunar eclipse time, and people were all chanting the holy names to overcome that inauspiciousness. Therefore, it became auspicious. So, when you do auspicious things at those times, and because the saintly persons will do auspicious things at that time becomes very conducive for spiritual progress. It is not conducive for material activity, but it is very conducive for spiritual progress. That is why, in that sense, it is auspicious.
Okay, so in short, whenever you do such auspicious thing, automatically any moment you are in that becomes auspicious thing.
Correct.
Okay, thank you, Harish.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Sadhu Pranam.
Hare
Prabhuji, in today's class, you explained about this Ashtanga Yoga. So, uh, when I preach, some people say that in meditation versus Krishna consciousness, what is the difference when they ask? They are saying that, okay, in Ashtanga Yoga, we will practice like asanas first and then eventually we wanted to go into samadhi. That is their ultimate thing. So like that, what is Krishna consciousness? When they ask me, is deity worship the final thing? So you wanted to worship the form? That is what they're asking. So what is Krishna consciousness, the ultimate, the final goal of Krishna consciousness? Is it deity worship, or is it absorbed in uh, Krishna Nam and then eventually arrive at the love for Krishna?
See, you can s- keep it very simple for outsiders and say that the ultimate goal is to go back to our original home, back to Godhead, back home, back to Godhead, and happily engage in eternal service to Krishna. Krishna is a person like you and me, and he has a place, and we have a family there. We forgot and we came here. We go back and be placed again in our original family without any of these distresses of Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi. That's our goal. We should keep it at that level for generally when we speak to outsiders, which is also the goal. It's not, of course, there are higher aspects of that goal as taught by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But in simple terms, it is to be reinstated in our original position as servant of Krishna in the spiritual world. That is our goal.
And how about if they ask something about deity worship, what should we say?
Deity worship is one of the methods by which we reach the goal.
Hmm.
It helps us to develop that service attitude to Krishna, relate to Krishna as a person that we are going to see Krishna eventually. So it helps us to practice for that eventual goal.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Dhanavad, Prabhu. Prabhu, the point you mentioned about how Prabhupada, it's an international movement, and Prabhupada came to the Western world to preach, and everyone can take it up. I was just reflecting on that. When most people come to our temple are Indians, and when they ask for books, or they're talking about, oh, I would love to read, they ask, oh, is this in English? Oh, the explanation is in English and all. So is this the moment to reflect how forward thinking our acharyas were, even from Indian culture perspective, which is probably the headquarters of the whole spirituality. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj told Prabhupada to write he asked to go to Western world, but to write the books which are the fundamental basis for our movement. He asked Prabhupada to write the books in English, and come forward, so many years. Every Indian wants to, they knew that it's in English that's going to take over the world in literature. And all Indians are asking at the home level also, everyone is asking at an Indian, in English scripture. So it was um, just a realization in terms of how forward thinking our acharyas were. That not just the Western world, but what he did is now coming back to India as the most beneficial thing.
Yeah, absolutely. The acharyas are directed by Krishna, and Krishna knows how to enhance the movement, and they are just playing the part given to them by Krishna. And of course, they are also, by Krishna given intelligence, they can see everything and execute. Absolutely. I think it's just the master stroke. And who would have thought even the recordings of Prabhupada, he would insist that it be recorded. And see how all Prabhupada's lectures are now in a recorded fashion. We can access anywhere, anytime because of technology.
Thank you, Prabhu. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.